It's YouTube Wednesday.
Okay, I'm making a silicone kind of a cup mold. It's like a box mold or it's like a sheet mold, except what I'm doing is I'm going to make it in a cup. A lot of times you need small parts like claws or whatever made out of resin or plastic, and I'm making some arrowheads. So you can see I have oil-based clay, and I'm just using a razor to cut out the basic arrowhead shape. This is going to be a super simple sculpt. I'm kind of pinching it to get the edges sharp. I mostly use my hands as my sculpting tools. They're probably your number one go-to. I'm actually cutting my notches out a little bit deeper, and then I'm just cutting a 45-degree angle on the arrowhead in order to get the sharpness of the edges. Boy, I have some dirty hands. It's all paint and stuff from all the different projects I've been doing tonight. So I'm using a wooden skewer to etch some detail in there, carving a letter in. It's an M for my monster museum. And now I'm making sure it's going to fit onto a wooden dowel rod, which is how I will make the arrows that go with this arrowhead. I'm just using a little stunt piece because that's the thickness of dowel rod I'm going to be using. Just like that. Basically, I'm making sure it has enough of a neck on it that I can secure it over a wooden dowel rod. And now I'm cleaning up the edge because whatever the clay looks like is what your finished piece is going to look like. So you need it to be, as neat as you'd like. And I think that's a good looking arrowhead. Just cleaning it up some more. And now I'm going to cut down the dowel rod so that I can glue that into the bottom of a cup. I'm going to pour silicone through the top, but I'm going to glue this piece onto the bottom down here. Just using hot glue. I've trimmed off the dowel rod so it's a lot shorter, and that's going to be the stem that I pour resin in through, because the bottom will be the top of the mold. And I'm going to maximize the space by putting one more sculpt in there with it. I just sprayed on some water in order to cool down the hot glue a little faster, keep me from having to hold it. I often use a technique where I mist with a spray bottle water to keep hot glue cool, or to make it cool faster. And in order to maximize space in the mold, I put another sculpt in there with it. Since there's room and you're going to pour silicone, you might as well maximize. So I have my silicone set up here. I have B and A. This is Gel 10 silicone from Biddy Mold Supply. I have my A labeled. I have my B labeled. I'm using the cups with the ridges, so I can just go to a ridge to tell me how much. I'm going to go ahead and pour these and mix these and then pour them into my prepped mold. So to do that, I need to set both those off to the side. I have a stir stick, which is not sitting on my table that's been covered in latex, because latex will inhibit the silicone from curing. I don't want that. So I'm making sure that I don't have latex anywhere near where I'm mixing silicone as far as surfaces touching. I had to evaporate the water off of my my mold here. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out and get this going. In case I have to mix more, which I won't, I should have just more than I need mixed up. In case I need more, I'm not mixing in one of my 2 cups. Also, it'd be a lot to mix in 1 cup. It'll be easier if I mix it in a separate, larger container. That was A, there's B. This silicone doesn't have a very long life, pot life. So I'm going to mix it very fast. And with the mixing. My biggest fear is that I'm going to be doing this one day and I'll get almost all the way done and realize I never hit record. Which has happened. So that's why it's a legitimate fear. And I want to make sure I scrape the bottom and scrape the sides, but I can't spend too much time because I really, really need to be pretty quick on this. Because it's a little bit warm out today, so this is going to kick even faster than its recommended kicking time. And now I'm pouring in one spot, and I'm pouring slow and steady, one thin stream. A lot of the bubbles are going to pop on the way down. Thin stream. It's self-leveling. I don't have any major undercuts on anything. Right now I've just gotten past the part of the one arrow that turns up, so I'm going to go ahead and tilt it a bit so any air trapped under those two little pieces can get out. And now I'm going to go back to pouring. Alright, I'm now over the top of my mold, of my sculpts. Don't have a lot of room to spare. I'm out of material. I said I think I measured that pretty good. I'm just going to agitate it so that the bubbles come out. I want all the bubbles to float up to the surface. I want them to get off. You know how soda bubbles stick to a straw if the straw is in the glass? Right now my sculpts are straws in a glass, and so they're stuck to it. So I'm jarring it so they shake free and float up a little bit. Okay, this now has to sit. I'll demold it in about 15-20 minutes. It's been about half an hour. I had to change out of my Castle Blood shirt because I was doing messy stuff in my downtime. And I didn't want to mess it up because Castle Blood is my favorite show I'd never been to. I now have this. I'm going to pop the glue seal on the bottom, and I can see my two pieces that I cast in here. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and cut the outside of the cup. And I'm just going through the plastic. That's all I want to go through. So I can peel this guy down. And now I have the silicone mold free from the cup. And I can just maneuver those with my hands a little bit. And I'm looking for where the pieces are, because I'm going to cut them free. Where I do it is going to be a seam, but the seams from silicone molds are actually never really that bad. There we go. Alright, this piece is out. You guys didn't see me sculpt this, but it's not important. Actually, I had room inside of the cup. I could have switched to a cardboard like toilet paper tube and waxed the inside or done something to the inside so the silicone didn't stick to it. But I decided to use the space and multitask, so I have two things that I molded in here. What I do want to do, I want to figure out which way my piece is oriented. I'm going to hold it up to the light so I can try and see the outline of my arrowhead. It looks like my arrowhead runs this way, so that's the way I'm going to cut. No point in cutting down and then having an undercut that I got to cut a different direction to get it out of the mold. That is perfect. And the clay is actually harder to get out than a resin piece will be. Obviously a resin piece is going to hold together a little better. And I'm pulling out the clay a piece at a time, kind of. Alright. My mold is clean. I'm going to grab some electrical tape and my resin and get some pours done. This is a black resin. It's a jet black resin that I get. I think it's called J.G. Greer, but I'll give you guys a link and a website address in the description. And it's really good stuff. Smooth On also makes a black resin, and that's probably it, but it's cheaper through J.G. Greer. That's why I buy it from them. Have my silicone mold, but I have cut it. So if I put liquid in it now, it's just going to leak out. So I'm going to go ahead and take electrical tape. I like electrical tape because it's nice and smooth, and it stretches a bit. It also, does pretty well against water because it's plastic. So I'm just going to wrap the whole thing down to my lowest cut line. Do I have to do this much? Probably not. The silicone seals up really well all by itself, but I'm just not going to take the chance. So there I go. I have other cups. I need a lot less material because what I'm doing is much smaller. What I have here is dowel rods. These are arrowheads. And when I pour in the resin, I'm just going to stick the dowel rods in there. And that's going to securely mount it to the arrow shafts. So I'm going to cut these to length. And I'm going to test fit here. That one does perfect. This one, I know I'm going to have to hold up. And it's going to be for 2 minutes. So while the resin sets up. Alrighty. It's always a good idea to give resins a shake, especially the A side. They can chunk up a little bit. And once again, even my small cups have those little lines on them. So I can see that I'm using even amounts. That keeps me from having to weigh it. This is 1A or 1B by volume. If I fill the same line on both cups, then I have the same volume. I can use a broken piece of dowel rod as a stir stick. I don't want to stir long because I only have a little bit of time while this resin kicks. Work life, 1 minute at 70 degrees. I am in Texas in May. It is not 70 degrees. I'll probably have about 30 seconds. I can demold in 15, but I guarantee I'll be able to let go of that second dowel rod within 5 minutes. Pow. Again, I don't have a lot of time to waste, so I'm going to get it in and get it stirred as quickly as possible. I feel that is mixed. I'm filling them almost all the way up to the top because I know when I put the stick in there, it's going to displace some of it. And this one has a couple undercuts, remember? So I'm moving it to get the bubbles out of that. This one is going to be fine. This one. Now I'm waiting. I'm lucky because the thicker piece I want to make is the one I have to hold. That's good because the more resin that is in one spot, the faster it kicks. What's left over in my cup is going to kick first. Second will be this other piece that I'm casting. And third will be the arrowhead that you saw me sculpt. Right now this is still liquid, but barely. As a matter of fact, it's not even going to make it out of the glass. That is hardening as it goes. Now it's hard. Hasn't been that long, but I can already let it go. So 15, 20 minutes, I'll demold. It's probably been about 20, 25 minutes, plenty of time. What I want to do is I want to check these thin drips on the side of the mold to see if they are firm. That's pretty good and firm. It's resin. It's not 100% cured yet, but it's strong enough where I know the small parts inside of here are going to be done also. I'm going to peel off those pieces from the outside of the mold. That's going to stop me from getting my tape up if I don't. And then I'm going to slowly peel off my tape. Or not slowly. I'm going to clean up my flash a little bit up here before I even open the mold up. I'll demold this piece first. Just pull it. And that turned out pretty much exactly how I wanted. It's nice and solid, and it took all of the sculpt that I put in it. I see a lot of detail in that. The other piece, this is the one that you know what it looks like because you watched me sculpt it. Just taking a pair of pliers here, and I've got some flash up on top. I'm just twisting that flash off. Okay, you can see that I've got my detail in it. I even carved a little letter in there, and that letter shows up. It's an M. That's upside down for you, but and that's for my monster museum. So that's it. I'm gonna get this guy painted and pour up a bunch more.